Real quick before I get into Thursday night football and NFL in general, shout out to Justin Verlander for winning his third Cy Young Award. He was unanimously voted, received all 30 first place votes, had an ERA of 1.75, 18 wins. Of course, helped capture Houston's second World Series title here. Definitely a comeback season for the ages for Mr. Verlander. Definitely remember his days with the Detroit Tigers, as we had to see him very often, me being a Chicago White Sox fan, but nevertheless, no, he definitely deserved this one, which basically just, caps off a Hall of Fame resume here. So yeah, shout out to Justin Verlander. All right, so, we're entering week 11 in the NFL season. It's flying by. Before I even get into Thursday night football, just want to just brief overview of the league right now. Just so, everyone's aware. The number one team in the AFC right now, record-wise, is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're sitting at 7-2. The Miami Dolphins are sitting right behind them at 7-3, meaning Miami hasn't had, taken their bye yet. So that should be happening, I think, this week, actually. Tennessee's third, Baltimore's fourth, the Jets are fifth. Buffalo, who's been, up there until like the last couple of weeks, they're sixth. And right now, New England is seventh. So that's your top seven right now in the AFC. That would be a very stout playoff bracket if it was to end this way. Now, New England's 5-4, so are the Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals. So they're, all right there neck and neck. So going down the stretch, this is going to be a very fun December when we get there. As far as the NFC, yes, the Eagles are still the number one team, even though they lost. They're 8-1, so are the Vikings. But the Eagles won the head-to-head matchup, I think, back in week 2 or so. Or week 3, I forgot which week that was. So, yeah, they're both 8-1. Giants are third, 7-2. Dallas, 4, 6-3. Seattle's fifth, 6-4. The 49ers are 6, 5-4. The Buccaneers are 5-5, 7th. They're tied with the football team. And then you got a lot of other teams with 6 losses here. And then looks like my Bears at the very bottom at 3-7 there. So, a couple things to take away here. One, the NFC East, which we, once called the NFC least a few years ago. They're probably going to have 3 teams in the playoffs. The 49ers is probably the one team, just like last year, the team that I don't think any higher seed wants to play them in the playoffs. 49ers are loaded across the board. Once they get their stuff together and start rolling all cylinders, I mean, this team can legitimately make it to the Super Bowl. Yeah, the adage of, never count Tom Brady out, I get that. But I discussed it before, if not on here, then on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast every Saturday morning live on Facebook with my Rose Brandon Ian, to the fact that the Buccaneers' ceiling is capped. As in, they can only do so much, but they will not make the Super Bowl. Their offensive line is trash, and that's not something that just gets better instantly. That takes time, effort, cohesion, consistency. And to have a bad offensive line with a 45-year-old statue behind center, it's like you're asking for it. And the defense hasn't been the greatest either that we have known them to be for the last couple of years. So all that together combines probably a one and done if they make the playoffs. At most, the second round. So Seattle is the anomaly for a team that's supposed to have traded their franchise quarterback for a plethora of draft picks, a couple of players, including a scrub quarterback, for them to be leading the NFC West. and at the trajectory that they're going to actually, host a playoff game, that speaks volumes. It does. It really does. Yeah, so honestly, both conferences, it's a ton of football left. Nobody's mathematically eliminated just yet. However, we are we are getting to the point where, like I mentioned with the AFC, the NFC in December is definitely going to be a roller coaster ride. I mean, that top 7 in the NFC might stand. Even though that football team, the Commanders, they're 5-5 as well. And they've been playing with a lot of grit. They may not have Kirk Chains, but Taylor Heineke's he's a nice complimentary option there. So with all that being said, Thursday night football, we have the Tennessee Titans traveling to Lambeau Field, going against the Green Bay Packers. Titans are 6-3. The Packers are 4-6. Packers are a 3-point favorite, which is your standard favorite for just being at home. You usually get 3 points. The Packers had a very impressive comeback win last week, down 14 points in the fourth quarter. End up forcing overtime and end up winning against the Dallas Cowboys. Titans, who, was off to a rough start here, they've been looking pretty good lately. They weathered the storm when Ryan Tannehill was out with Malik Willis, who, from the eye test, the general consensus is he's definitely not ready to be a starter here, but what can you do? So, nevertheless, 7:15 Central Time, Amazon Prime. Titans are missing a lot of players tonight, including Bud Dupree, Amani Hooker, Ben Jones, Lonnie Johnson. Green Bay Packers missing a couple people as well. Of course, Randall Cobb's been on IR. Romeo Dobbs still isn't back. Shamir Jean Charles, their corner, he's doubtful. Devondre Campbell, linebacker, he's out. So, yeah, both teams missing some players there. In order for the Packers to win this game, their defense is going to have to step up. And their offense definitely has to play somewhat similar to what they did last week. Because right now, the Packers average 18.5 points a game, but they give up 21.5 points a game. Yeah, the Packers offense, can generate 368 yards a game, which is pretty darn good, but they allow 330 yards. As far as the Titans, they score 18.5 a game. They give up 18.5 a game. Total yards, 299. Rushing yards, 133. Derrick Henry is second in the league in rushing this year so far. Just a few yards behind Saquon Barkley there. Now, the Titans' pass defense is generous. They give up 295 yards a game, but their run defense is pretty stout. They only allow 85 yards a game. For the Packers to be successful, they need to run the ball. That's how they were successful against the Cowboys. So if the Packers can't run the ball, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Yeah, Christian Watson had a great game, 4 catches for, over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was sensational. He, was part of the catalyst to their comeback last week. But just the Packers' identity as a whole, they need the running game to rely on play action and Aaron Rodgers to do his thing. So either Aaron Rodgers is going to be a gunslinger tonight, which we know he has the ability to be, but can his wide receivers get the job done? If so, I mean, hey, they can have a big day. If not, well, time of possession says the Titans going to probably have 35 to 40 minutes of it, and Derrick Henry's going to have a field day. So that is where we are at with that. All right, just a couple other things to note on across the good old sports world. LaMelo Ball rolled his ankle yesterday, the same ankle that kept him out for several games before when the season started. He rolled the same ankle on a fan. So just to hear his cry, that was painful. Steph Curry drops 50 points last night in a loss. That Warriors team, I don't know, starting to look dysfunctional a little bit. And that's not a good thing. They sent James Wiseman down to the G League, and rightfully so, because they want to make sure he's ready by the time, the spring comes back around. And hopefully a playoff chance. They got to make it they got to make it there first. Klay Thompson still doesn't look the same. And somewhat, for the, I guess a little bit of that is kind of expected at this point. Draymond's still looking for his max contract, but he's not playing like a max player. Poole hasn't, been doing his thing since he got the bag. It seems like the only one that's out here hooping is Steph Curry. Warriors need to, get their stuff together. I understand that, it's early or whatnot. But, there's teams that's, probably playing, outside of their minds or overachieving per se. But, that's trying to stay where they at. And so over time, if this thing comes more consistent, then it's like it's not a fluke, it's a pattern. That means it's a trend. That means that these teams are overachieving. They're actually pretty good teams this year. And the teams that's not winning right now, at that point, you're deemed not a good team. You're underachieving. And so you don't want to be like the Los Angeles Lakers and missing the playoffs altogether. That's what you don't want. So Warriors are 6-9 right now. They're 12th in the West. There's still a lot of things to, sort out here, between now and definitely April. But just note that Portland is 10-4, and, they're still hanging up there strong. Utah's 10-6. That's another team we didn't expect to be up there. Sacramento Kings are 7-6. Mike Brown got that team playing with a lot of energy. Minnesota 7-8, with the acquisition of Rudy Gobert, they're still trying to figure it out. I expect them to be better. Clippers 8-7, with load management, Kawhi Leonard there. So we'll see what happens. Memphis 9-6. John Morant is definitely trying to win the MVP. New Orleans 9-6, and that's a team that we expected to take a big jump this year. Denver's 9-5. They're right there in the thick of things. Phoenix 9-5. Dallas 8-6 with Luka. He's trying to get the MVP. So you got teams out here hooping. Even the Thunder, they're 7-8. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's playing out of his mind right now. So the standings are what they are right now. Teams still trying to figure it out. As long as you're not the Lakers who's 3-10 or the Houston Rockets who's 3-12, you got to figure it out. Hey, the same can be said about my Bulls and the Brooklyn Nets. Both those teams are 6-9 outside the top 10 right now. You got teams like the Wizards who's 8-7. I didn't expect that team to be up there. The Pacers are 7-6. And I tell you what, this Pacers team, they are fun to watch. Between Tyrese Halliburton and their rookie, and I'm trying to remember the rookie's name here. Where is it? Benedict Mathurin. Look, this dude, I think he was drafted with 7th or 8th overall. He didn't play last year, but there was a lot of buzz around the guy. Like, this dude can be a game changer. He's coming off the bench and doing his thing. He is doing his thing. He's 6'6", averaging basically 20 off the bench, 4 boards, 2 assists. Dude is an instant bucket. Like, that is the spark that they needed. Came out of Arizona. Like, Pacers fans should be excited. I know a few of them, and they definitely are. So, yeah, just, certain teams just, certain years, they just bring some energy that the other teams didn't expect. And then the veteran teams, some might, just, I guess, quote-unquote, coast, per se, just the... just ride the wave, just get through the season until the playoffs come. The San Antonio Spurs was infamous for doing that for a number of years. Just ride the wave, do enough, get to the playoffs, we turn it up. So, yeah. And I guess speaking of Brooklyn that I mentioned earlier when we got to the Eastern Conference, apparently that checklist that Josiah and the Brooklyn Nets gave Kyrie Irving for him to complete in order to join the team, apparently he's, I guess, almost done with it and could return to the team as soon as Sunday, apparently, reportedly. So before the other night when the Brooklyn Nets got spanked by the Sacramento Kings, where the Kings, dropped 153 points on them in regulation, which is insane. Before that game, while Kyrie was out, the Brooklyn Nets went from the worst defensive team to the first defensive team in the NBA. So, outside of that game where they got A-Town stumped, the Nets actually play some defense. So when and if, Kyrie comes back, can they keep that same energy? We know Kyrie Irving isn't the greatest defender ever, but I don't think he's the worst one either. So I know Jacques Vaughn got this team playing a little differently. I feel like the players actually do listen to the guy. So I'm hoping Kyrie Irving, does the same. And, falls right in line. And the Brooklyn Nets actually, becomes a better team going forward. That's what we're hoping for their sake. Because, Kevin Durant, he's out here in the media saying, currently, he's like, quote, "Look at our starting lineup. Edmund Sumner, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Claxton, and me. It's not disrespect, but what are you expecting from that group? You expect us to win because I'm out there?" We know Kevin Durant keeps it, whatever he says, he keeps it 100, or however he feels. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. And then also, I guess Kevin Durant on how, critics want him to be with teammate Kyrie Irving. He says, quote, "A lot of people say I'm not a leader because I didn't tell Kyrie to get vaccinated or I didn't condemn Kyrie for leaving the team. I'm not about to tell a grown man what he can and can't do with his own life and dissect his views on how he thinks about." So, both statements can be true. As far as this one about Kyrie, I get it. I feel him 100%. I do. At the end of the day, they're all grown, man. They do what they want to do. That's their business. NBA is a business. And then, I guess as far as the starting lineup, to a certain degree, he's right. To a certain degree. Because, yeah, that starting lineup lacks talent. But on the other hand, they're going to be like, well, they're professional athletes. I mean, we can look at worse starting lineups across the league and they still get it done. I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder has more wins than them right now. And I'm pretty sure 95% of America can't even name the starters, all 5 starters for the Thunder. I know I can't right now. Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey. I guess that's it. That's all I know. Yeah, so nevertheless, I guess we'll see what happens. If Kyrie comes back Sunday, cool. If not, I mean, cool. Just keep it moving. Such is life. Life goes on. All right. Continue to rock with your boy, JGoodWithSports, right here on the No Offense Radio and the No Offense Network. Saturday, I'll be on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast with my bros, Brandon and Ian. Hey, the World Cup is coming this weekend. We're going to be talking about that, talking about the NFL, talking about the NBA, talking about our boy Justin Fields, Chicago Sports Driven. And then Sunday, Week 11, Destination Fantasy Podcast, Fantasy Football Driven with my boys Deshaun and Walt. Getting you ready. Can't believe we're 11 weeks in already, but hey, nevertheless, got to get you ready for that playoff push for fantasy. But either way, appreciate you. Next week we got Thanksgiving. But until then, peace.